Hi Bruno, can you hear me? I cannot hear you or I cannot see you yet. Hey, there you are. How are you, man? I see you, but I don't hear you. No, I don't hear you. No, I don't hear you. It says that you are connecting to audio. That seems to be. Hello, are you connected now? It says you are connected.
Anything now?
Yes, there you
Oh,
are. Yes. Happy New Year, man. How are you?
New Year. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's
Every
always.
time, every time Zoom kind of, I test everything, but before before the meeting, but somehow when you connect, it goes. I
Strange.
don't know.
I also don't know. So, how were your holidays? Did you
Good, good, and
oh,
you?
you survived, obviously, the food and the drinks and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent with the family, and it was nice.
I can imagine in Brazilian family, there's going to be a lot of food,
Yeah,
cocktails and stuff.
mm, barbecue. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they gotta have meat somehow.
Of course, of course. I once celebrated New Year on the Copacabana in
Oh,
Rio. Wow, that was amazing, man. That was amazing. Millions of people, on the beach.
millions. Yeah, you can even walk. Yeah,
No, that was really great and great weather, just summer then.
yeah.
So it was just no, really cool.
The fireworks, yeah.
Well,
Beautiful.
the funny thing about that was that you have this organized fireworks, right? And these pantons in the water. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's like
Yeah.
in the sea, and then they have this whole orchestrated fireworks, which is really amazing and beautiful. But then once it's done, then the fireworks starts in the favelas, on
Oh,
the
yeah,
mountain, and it's 10 times bigger. So
yeah.
it's really like a competition, who has the biggest fireworks. And yeah, this was really cool, actually.
And you anything, how
Yeah,
was your,
no, I also celebrated with family and
yeah,
quite relaxed and yeah, you know, I worked quite a lot actually, some projects. So yeah, it's always uh,
I
no,
know how it
it's nice. It's nice.
is. In which country because the other day you were in Italy, right? Now
Now I'm in Amsterdam. Yes,
oh,
this
you're
is
in Amsterdam,
Amsterdam.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I go to Amsterdam every 5 to 6 weeks or so. My daughter lives here.
Mm,
Go for a week and I see her here and um, so I'm a bit back and forth between Italy and Amsterdam.
great.
So and you've been also busy. Sorry, I'm a bit I have a bit of a cold because the weather here is horrible.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a new job and they're taking everything out of me, you know. I'm working too late and putting a lot of fires and but yeah, it's gonna get smoother.
it's always in the beginning, it's always a bit
Yeah.
more, more, yeah, more work. You have to get into it. Now, actually, when I refer to your work, what you've been writing, and I can see you're really using the domino tool, you're really pushing that into it. And
Yeah.
I think that, I'm sorry, that really makes a difference because now I'm really following his story. I really follow the obstacles. Um, And yeah, I think the best thing is just to go through it. I have some ideas, but in general, I think you're really getting to this point that first of all, you care for him because the way you set him up, and secondly, now you're really following his journey, and he has to push through certain things, and there's mysteries, and there's something he doesn't understand. He has to figure out. He has to find. Nobody wants to give it to him. So this is all, it creates these obstacles,
Has no money.
and no money, and his wife is wants to kill him, and so yeah, I think if you in the execution later on, if you really nail that field that is now here, um, people are gonna want to keep watching and want to keep reading, because it's really it pushes forward, and this is really good. So I think we should just go through the points. Is there anything specific that you want to share up front? Something,
No,
is there something that you said like, oh, this was kind of difficult, or this was not really working, or
no. Like I said, the research was difficult. Yeah, I have to even test myself some of the things that he's doing, see
Mm.
how it looks, how with the time wise and the answers and what's so we can have a feel of what the challenges that he will have. Yeah,
Yeah, you mean if he applies for certain information, like the official way, then it takes like 3 weeks or
6 months or whatever.
yeah, yeah. No, that's really good because those kinds of elements make it real, really, So and that's it's important for a story like this because you want it to be as real as possible.
Yeah.
It's not a fantasy, let's say, it's a clear drama. So okay, um, let's go through what you sent me. It continues, let's say, the thing that you sent me before. So I put it in one document,
Hmm.
which is easier for me. So after the abduction, David and Sarah are interviewed by the FBI, and then the FBI suspects Ethan's disappearance is linked to a string of similar cases in the city and potentially a larger network of abductions. these little things, these kinds of things, um, I would always try to have David find that out rather than somebody telling him. You know what I mean? So actually,
Uh-huh.
David is the one that says like, "Hey, but there's." I, immediately he's doing research. Immediately he's going online. He's trying to figure out what's happening, and he says like, "But there are kind of similar cases." And then the FBI is like, "No, no, no, no. You know, this is kind of no. What are you talking about? Well, we're investigating. We don't know. Blah blah blah." So because that makes him engaging from the first moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's immediately he's experiencing some opposition that actually creates more questions for him, for David, and also for us as an audience. You know, so these are little things that I think make it more engaging if you do it like that. Yeah, and he gets frustrated by the vague responses of the FBI agents, and also, you know, oh, the odds that we're going to find him are not so very high because, you know, what you said last time, it's like if you don't find him within 48 hours, chances are really, really low, you know. So that's the stakes and that's the difficulty of the journey. So it's really good to mention that.
Yeah.
And then David could push that point of the other abductions, you know, what is happening. Um, and Reynolds just refuses, which is to give answer or too vague. Um, and leading to an argument with Sarah. Yeah, Sarah could say like, "What are you talking about? You know, don't. What are you? Why are you talking about other children? It's our child that is. You know." So it's really good way of getting the tension higher um, and accusing him of fantasizing, being crazy like he always is. You know, that's putting that point. You know, he's not capable. He doesn't have his mind straight. He cannot really live in this world because he's a some kind of crazy artist writer. So I think that all works really, really well. Um, so nevertheless, he takes matters in his own hands. That's great. That's what we want. We want him to be active. So he goes through old notes, online forums, connect with other missing children. He's starting to do the investigation that the FBI, for some reason, doesn't do, or at least they don't say it. He learns about FOIA. That is one of those things. If he wants to get more,
Yeah, yeah. You could actually apply and fill out a form, but it takes 1 to 3 months to get an answer.
yeah, yeah.
So it
Uh,
doesn't have this time. Yeah.
I would say the way he learns about that is he makes a phone call because that's active and it's external, you know, rather than reading it on a computer. It's always a bit boring if your main character is reading on a computer. It's better if he interacts with a woman or man that just refuses to give him this information. He says, yes, you can apply, you know, just fill in this form with a million, your passport and I don't know what, and you will get a response within 3 months. Yeah. And it adds to his frustration. And I think that's what you're building here. So, or he goes there, he goes to the place, you know, but make it an interaction, I would say. It's a clear little conflict that can reveal a lot. And in this research, he finds out about Jack Rourke, and that he resigned under mysterious circumstances. And that's cool. That's a great lead. And it's great that he discovers it somehow. Um, Again, here is like, try to be more specific how he finds that out. Does he just find it online or does he do something smart here? Because in the way he finds the clues and the way he's starting his investigation, you reveal character, right? You make him specific. Um, and as we said last time, you know, he's a writer, so he knows how to do his research. Maybe he has this I don't know, this kind of crazy friend who's completely isolated, but can get into any kind of computer systems, and he uses it for his books. I don't know, but you can play with that. You can make that a bit um, more alive than just saying, yeah, he finds out.
Actually was online, so
Try to make it specific for him. Because if we would do it, we would find it online probably. And it makes sense, of course. But can you do it in a more special way
yeah,
that aligns with the typical character that he has?
yeah.
Um, I also find Sheriff Cole's case, which is good. We introduce him. We're going to see him later. Um, this I really like. He contacts the parents of the other kidnapped children, and he wants to know about who is this FBI agent because I find him, and um, but they have little information, and they also might even be annoyed by him or say like, who are you, and why do you want to know this, and so you can play with that as well. So at home, he has his office cluttered with notes, dates, names. That's great. Um, yeah. No, I wanted to say like I feel like at this point I want to see Sarah, but I see it's in 2 points later. So yeah, I think that's good. You want to keep her also. I'm going to say a little bit more about that later on, but you want to keep her also in the loop, let's say. So they do confirm the FBI agent, but they have no clue where he is. Um, they have a phone number, but it's disconnected. That's all great. Um, and then he sees Sarah crying in her sleep. And that is one of the things that you might want to consider in this script, because I've been working on 2 to 3 projects, either as a writer or as a director, that's as a director. And um, the challenge in those projects is to write, to get the script to the level that an A-list actor would be interested in playing the part. Um, So whenever you get in budgets, let's say that is above 15 to 20 million and higher, um, the actors are all loaded. They don't do it for the money. They will get a lot of money anyway. So you're not gonna grab them with money, let's say. So and one of the things, so one of the things that you really should think about is his his character arc. And I saw yesterday a film, A Mountain Between Us. Have you seen that? It's a new film on Netflix. Or The
I
Mountain.
heard about it. No, yeah, I heard about it. I didn't see it yet.
And I was very interested in that film because one of the films I'm working on is like a survival film. And but also like, I mean, the premise seemed so simple. And I was like, but why are 2 of those high-level actors interested in doing um, such a survival film? What makes this script special? And so I saw it, and I understand. It's they both have a very clear character arc, and actually they are really interwoven, and they really come together in the end. And there's this beautiful resolution. And I'm not going to go into details. I don't know if you haven't seen it, see it.
I
But
will.
a love story is one of the key elements in a commercial script. If you
Oh
want to
yeah,
if you want to get level talent, and maybe you're aiming for a lower budget film, that's okay. But if you can still hit that point, that your chances of getting finances really increase. So what I want you to think about is how this whole journey actually could bring Sarah and David back together somehow, or not, or whatever. But because there is a love story. They are married, they have a child, the child is abducted, they once loved each other, now they hate each other. You set that up very, very clear, very, very ruthless. Is there a way that this film will heal that? I'm not saying you should do that because I know you also have your idea with the sheriff, Sheriff Cole, you know, which is also going to play a little bit on the same kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I'm not saying you should do it, but I highly recommend um, at least investigating because we care for her too, and we understand her too. So in that, but also Sheriff Cole, but we only meet him later on, of course. But Sarah's from the beginning, and Sarah is a love story. If they come back together or not, you know, I mean, then it's a tragic love story. But anyway, I would really think urge you to think like how to develop that, because she's a very important character actually in this script. And this is a beautiful moment because actually, you know, he sees her crying in her sleep, and actually he might realize that he loves her. He loves her like crazy, you know. Um, Instead of pushing, you know, the negative side. It's always this duality, these things that are that don't go together, but then actually they do in a very surprising way. And if you can make that work, it's very subtle. It's not easy. Um, but those are the scripts that you know that can attract really high level talent.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking about that. She's gonna be involved because she's gonna be calling him while he's there. And I was thinking, and we're still gonna go to that point that we don't need to talk about it today, but remember when you talk about it, how we can communicate with William in coma?
Mhm.
Um, it's gonna need some medical crazy procedures that maybe she can come back to help him out in
Mhm.
the story.
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah. If you do something like that, I think it's a great idea to use her for that
Yeah.
instead of, let's say, another person.
Yeah.
Take her in and um, and again, you know, that's going to be the truth serum tool. You know, that's going to be the last thing in the world that she's going to do.
Yeah.
But
It's gonna have to be pushed.
yes, and that's where
Yeah.
we want the story to be. You know, so I think there's a big opportunity what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you're already thinking that direction. So he sees her crying in her sleep. Uh, so he researches Jack Rourke, stumbles upon an article. He uses reverse image search. What do you mean by that?
Sorry, say that again.
Well, you say like he performs a reverse image search.
Oh yeah, because you found a picture of him online,
Yeah,
an article, and then you can actually do that. I mean, you save a picture and then you put it on Google to search it, and then more stuff is gonna come out like you don't know about it.
yeah. Okay. Well, this could be something specific for David, and maybe he used this for his for one of his books. You know, in one of his books. Um, So he finds his date of birth, um, searches public court records, calls the current FBI investor who denies knowing Rourke. So that's even more suspicious. Um, refuses to help. And then this I really like. So pretending to be Jack Rourke. I mean, now you're getting into an area of um, fantasy from a perspective of a writer. This is something a writer would do. He would come up with that. You know,
Mm.
if he would be a tough, rough detective, he would not, probably. This is typically something that a writer would do, and that's what I was looking for. That was what I was pushing you to find, these kinds of things that, he's gonna dress up like this guy, or he's putting his hair, like, I don't know, a little bit clumsy maybe, but that's the thing a writer would do. So this is really, really cool. And you really feel, okay, this is not going to work, but actually he makes it work, which is, also a bit funny actually. Um, so he calls the Division of Electors Voter Assistance Hotline, obtaining the country where workers registered to vote. Uh-huh. See, that's very smart. Those kind of things are really cool. Searching country records online, he finds a list, Jack Rock's on the list, Jack Rock's address. Okay, great. Yeah, that's a very specific, cool way to find him. Um, so he finds him at home, but is threatened with police action. David leaves research notes and photos of Ethan pinned to the Rourke's door, hoping to provoke a reaction. So basically, he leaves his files or anything there. So Jack collects the photos after David leaves, prompting David to craft a threat of public exposure. What do you mean exactly? What do you mean exactly? What is happening here?
Uh, so he goes to a closed diner and with his laptop, he prints like an article to threaten saying if I'm gonna put your name on it and I'm gonna put it online and I'm gonna talk to my friends journalists and this is all gonna blow up and you're gonna be held accountable some way if you don't help me.
It's a threat. Let's say he's
It's a
threatening
threat,
him.
yeah.
Um,
He goes in a diner to write it up, then he goes to a little FedEx stores on the corner, print it out, you fast, go there and say, hey, here's what I got for you. And
yeah, to make that work, um, it has to be, how do you say, 100% sure that if he publishes that, it will do something to Jack. And that mechanism, how that works, should be very clear. So if he says, I have this on you, if this is going to be published, then and then, um, it has to be super clear that the outcome is guaranteed. You know what I mean? Because if you say, I'm going to publish, it's a bit fake, it has to be guaranteed that stakes of Jack will come to pass. And what those stakes are. Because if Jack is just living, I mean, what does he have on Jack? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So what does he have on Jack?
sorry, I was writing out. Say that again.
So what exactly is the thing that he's threatening Jack with that really is painful for Jack?
it's an article explaining that he quit and he didn't want to help and he knows more. He's holding information and there is a web of kids being kidnapped and he doesn't want to help.
But he's not the only one, right? There's nobody
Yeah,
to help. Uh,
yeah.
unless he has absolute proof of that. It would be like a conspiracy kind of article, right? It would be like, yeah, Jack can just say, well, it's nonsense. I just resigned. Can I not resign? What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? So he has to have absolute proof. But if he has absolute proof, he also has absolute proof of other people being involved and not doing the investigation. So it's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult to thread the way you do it, you've done it now. I think this needs a bit more work. Um, yeah, we talked about this before, right? You know, like Jack doesn't want to talk. So what is the incident that his authentic reaction is? He's going to talk. So
Yeah,
what's the incident that David can come up with that will force him to talk? And this is a difficult one. Yeah, we talked about it before. These are this is the job of a writer, making the impossible possible. You know, it's really difficult, and then you really have to come up with something to make that work. Um, another option would be now he knows where Jack lives, and Jack doesn't want to comply to break into his house.
mm,
You know, maybe so you can play with that because it makes David active, which is good. It creates danger because he's now breaking into someone's house. This is the first actually a criminal act he's doing. You know, he's really breaking the law. And of course, this Jack, he has a gun. You know, he's an FBI guy, so he's dangerous. So that could also be an option. And then,
break into his house by by how? Like without introducing himself or just
well, that's up to you. You know how he would. I mean, you have to play that out. Like, okay, what would be his first step? Would he, like what you say, would he just ring the bell and say, like, hey, my son is kidnapped, and I believe it's the same group of people that you were investigating. Can you help me? And he just smashes the door. And he could threat with what you're saying. Well, I'm going to go to the press. I'm going to write an article that you don't want to cooperate. There's children missing, blah blah blah. And Jack is just laughing. He's just like, who's going to believe you, crazy? Again, you crazy motherfucker. Again, pushing him down the same point. You know, and he might survey his house. And when Jack goes out for a drink at night, he might go in. Something like that. I'm just say doing it off the top of my head. I'm sure you can come up with something more special. But then because someone like Jack, who knows stuff that he's not supposed to know, and he's resigned, he will have a backup that if they come after him, he has something on these people to blackmail them or to free himself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's, and I think that is something that Jack might want to go for. He says, yeah, he must have something because otherwise they would already have killed him. If it's such a big thing, whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So he's going to look for that. And then, Jack might come home, and then he finds him, and then they get in a fight or whatever, and Jack says, "Listen, man, I understand you. I understand you. I just don't want to have anything to do with this. All I can say, go there, look in the Bible. That's all I'm going to say. That's all you're going to hear from me, and I'll get the fuck out of my house." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking in a sequence where he first introduced himself as a reporter, trying to bullshit him,
Yeah,
and then they said, "Get out of here. I don't have time for you." And then we're like, "Hey, actually, here's a picture of my son. He was recently kidnapped. I don't care. I'm gonna call the police on you." And then he'll come back with this paper that he makes, and he was still like, "Well, it's still not good enough for me, and he'll start saying, "Oh, I'm gonna stay here till I'm not gonna leave the front of your house. I'm gonna stay here till you do something to help me." He's like, "I'm gonna shoot you. I have a gun." It's, "Oh, okay. I'm still gonna be here." And I don't think you want to do that, like, you know.
yeah,
And then he talks about it gets a little emotional. Talks about um, I know the story. I know why you quit. I know all those kind of things, and it looks like my kid is part of what you're doing, and there's more kids that could be hurt. And if you don't act, this is gonna still going, and more kids can be hurt and get killed and stuff like that.
yeah. And then he says it.
And then he's like, "Oh, whatever. All right." And he'll say, "You don't need to. You just tell me what to do. I mean, just give me a clue or something. You don't need to give names or specifics."
Yeah. One point, he just wants to get rid of this crazy guy.
Yeah, he's like, "Listen, all right." And then there's a little conversation. Why I saw an NDA. Well, what did they ask you? Or I don't think they try to help you based on my expertise. Blah blah blah. All right, there is a church on this city. You have an answers on the Bible. And he goes like, "Well, was that a joke or something?" "No, no, no. Look for a Bible inside this church, then and you're gonna see it."
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. That he really just wants to get rid of him uh,
Yeah,
at one point, and gives him a clue that he might think, okay, this will keep him busy for some time. It's not really going to help, but actually, you know, it does bring him further, right?
he does what?
It does bring him further. The clue,
Yeah, he'll find that you put the dots together, he'll find that William could be a,
yeah, yeah. So something like
yeah,
that, something like
yeah.
that. Just to get rid of him, he says that, yeah. But you have to design it really in a way that we believe it, that we believe it. But it's cool. It's cool. I really like the way working up to that and the obstacles and if you can make this work, then now we're in the build basically. So he returns home, packs a bag with essentials, blah blah blah. He has a lack of funds, so he steals Sarah's emergency credit card, which is great. He takes one look at Ethan. Would Sarah also still be sleeping at this point? Is this the middle of the night or early morning?
Um, so now he sees prescription drugs on the side of her bed and she's sleeping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because before he saw her crying, crying, and he didn't want to bother, and he would come back to his own office, keep working. Now he's checking on her and see a bottle of whatever Xanax, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
and she's knocked out cold, and that is another. It creates a situation where he can go and sneak and steal her credit card because she's sleeping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he might also, before he leaves, I don't know, take a piece of hair out of her face or so. Just have this moment of,
Yeah, yeah,
like I'm gonna bring it.
yeah, yeah. It's a nice touch.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then he goes to Ethan's untouched room. Okay, so he sells his car, uh, purchases an old red truck, and while driving to the small town, Sarah calls, furious about the stolen card. Um, he reveals where he's going in the small town. Yeah, now you're cutting away from him, right? Now we're all of a sudden in a
Yeah, I mean,
different world.
it's been like the full setup just on him.
Yeah,
And while he's driving, we can create momentum for other characters to come in.
yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah, I'm always a bit wary of these kinds of things, because now we are so invested in his journey, um, that it's always a bit, how do you say, it feels a bit disconnected to all of a sudden, cut to a different kind of character, and um, without his introduction. So think about that. But for now, let's keep it like this, because you want William's nephews introduced. I mean, what is your motivation here? Is it to introduce William's nephews or Sheriff Cole?
Both, both of them, yeah.
Because actually, it's an introduction, and then you continue with Sheriff Cole visiting his
Oh
ex-wife.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he arrested and show a little bit of his character,
Yeah.
like we're the grandsons of the William's father, right?
Hmm.
We're. It's like I don't care. William's my best friend too, and you guys are here in jail. So he shows that he's a cop with good moral and character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, there would be a version in which, at one point, when David finds some information in the church and he needs some additional information and he needs to go to the sheriff to get that information. Let's say he pretends to be a journalist or whatever. I don't know what that is. That when he enters the sheriff office, we actually see Sheriff Cole coming in with the nephews, and then we learn this world through David. He introduces us to that rather than just cutting. But these are more details. I would always look for a solution like that to enter that world through David, and then you can go, and then you can cut to them because now they're introduced. But just simply to cut to them, it might feel a bit episodic,
Mm-hmm.
especially because at this point we're really with David. We're really with him, and we want to know what is happening in this church, and we're basically not interested in anyone else because we don't know them. So we have to learn to know them, I would say, through him, if you can make that work. Um, and then he gets to the church, yes. So he pretends to be researching historical buildings for an article. Yeah, so he's like a journalist, right? And donates $500 to an elderly priest for access. Okay. Sorry. Inside the church, David finds a group photo in the basement showing Sheriff Cole, his son, and William among other volunteers. The priest identifies them by name, emphasizing their roles in the community. Okay. Well, there has to be a reason for that, right? I mean, why would the priest start pointing at at people, you know. I mean, he's there to what? To see the building, not, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he could ask, who are these
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's interesting, of course. He's interested. So he
Uh,
could say like, oh, interesting, you know, like big, how do you call it?
are these
Church.
people part of the church?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these are volunteers, and this guy's a minister, this guy whatever, and
Yeah. Yeah.
something
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah. Again, Lennis David is active. You know, we want to make
Yeah,
him
yeah.
active all the time, all the time. So he uncovers community bulletins, donors records using linking William to frequent volunteer work at the church. So he finds a picture of Sheriff Cole and his son with the message, "For what I couldn't protect, forgive me," on the back. Okay. Does he recognize Sheriff Cole at this point?
Yeah, he can recognize.
Because he's done his research,
Yeah,
David. So the moment this FBI agent tells him, let's say, go to see the Bible in a church in that specific village, he's going to look back in his notes, going to say like, what happened in that village? And he's going to see, hey, the sheriff Cole, actually the sheriff of that village, actually also has a son missing.
yeah.
You
He
know,
already know that.
he knows that.
Yeah,
Um, so he might even try to set up a meeting with the sheriff, or I don't know, pass by or pretend that, you know, just to get a feeling of what is happening here in this town, because he knows something's there and it's not right and it's dangerous. He knows that because nobody dares to talk about it. The FBI, everyone is scared. So he's gonna play smart, I would say, you know. Um, So then when he sees the photo here with Sheriff Cole on it with this boy, then he understands, of course, oh, that's the son that was kidnapped, and uh, he couldn't save him. So then David examines an old Bible belonging to William, noting highlighted passages about children and dates matching the disappearances. Um, so this for him is the proof that William is the one who did it.
yeah. Or at least know something about it. I mean, he will look at it, um, dates the passages, and he'll look at of those passages. Try to Google, like for example, whatever Luther 18.1. So he'll look at on his phone, and it
Yeah.
says something about remorse and with a date on the side. So he's like, wow, he started thinking there's something weird here. Like,
And you want him to know quickly that William is the one,
yeah,
without a doubt.
without a doubt.
Then why not make it more simple? Because this device that you created is William on purpose leaving clues, right? And that's a bit like in Seven. I mean, he does it with, you know, because the whole plan is to be caught in the end and fulfill the whole prophecy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but
No, I wanted to have something cryptic because this guy will not just leave on your nose clues like a, a piece of a kid's toy, whatever, scattered all over inside
yeah,
of the place a church that he goes all the time.
yeah. What if, let me just give you a very simple and maybe bad idea. What if before his son was kidnapped that day, somebody asked him to light a cigarette and he recognizes William? he recognizes that's the guy that was there that day. So he has this flashback of fuck, it was him. And now for him, it's absolutely clear. He wants to talk to him. He wants to see him. He wants to and then when the car chase comes and he's in a coma, you know, now there's no doubt for him. He cannot prove it to anyone, you know. So that makes it a little bit difficult. It's not you know. He recognizes him.
Mm, yeah.
Just a simple idea, but it's simple. It's quick. It's unexpected, and um, and it's clear for him. It's clear for us too, as an audience. We know he's right, but nobody believes him. He cannot prove it. Yeah, I saw him that day there. Yeah, yeah, right. You know, and now you chasing him, and now you just break him into a coma. You know, but we know he's right, and he knows. You know what I mean? Now you feel even more for him. If now he's, for instance, after this, I don't know what you want to do after the accident, but if he's if he's arrested by the sheriff, whose son is also killed or kidnapped, whatever, by the same guy, and he says, "It's this guy. I know. I saw him. I recognize him." He said, "Yeah,
Mm,
but how can you prove that? I know it's him." You know, that's a painful situation. That would be, that an escalation, I would say. What do you think?
yeah, it can work. Yeah.
Because the essence of your concept is that you want the guy who did it in a coma, right? At the middle of the film, basically. That's your concept. And that's great because that's super unexpected. But the problem with that concept is that now the whole investigation, which normally would take the whole film, has to be very quick, which is also surprising. So he goes to that place and he just finds the guy immediately. You know, it's something you absolutely don't expect. But then there's the twist of that he gets in a coma, which is great. You know, I always like to play with these expectations of the genre and then just do the opposite. And
Yeah.
that's inherited in your concept. So I'm just trying to make your concept work because I think the concept's really funny, really cool. It's very original, you know, it's against, the standard stuff that we see all the time.
Yeah. We'll have to include William in a catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we should not know it, there's just this guy who comes and this and that, and or something else, the guy that walks with the balloons or whatever. Maybe asking for a light is too obvious. Just something, just something.
Yeah. It could be one of, no, that wouldn't work because
Maybe
you bump into people asking, "Did you see my kid?" But he will have the kid
yeah,
with him.
yeah, he
So
would have the kid. No, but what if it's
yeah.
a police officer? So you don't expect a police officer in the beginning of the film if the police officer walks by and his kid says, "Oh, look, he has a gun," whatever. And no, no, just like a little boy would do. And then he just walks by, just like a little joke.
Yeah.
And then later, it's like, fuck, it's the guy. He dressed up as a police officer. And they might even find, those clothes at one point or even more proof, whatever, but he recognizes it. And then he gets in a coma. I think it's the Coen brothers
Yeah. It's like we said
steroids.
before. Yeah. Yeah. So all the scripted messages in the Bible, whatever, all this will be eliminated.
Honestly, it makes William a bit weak because yeah, he leaves traces and
Traces, yeah.
on
That's why
purpose.
I try to come up with the best way possible
Yeah.
of you really have to dig in, David, to think that that guy and is the is the author of the crimes.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it can work. Like in Seven, it works.
Yeah,
But it's the whole thing. It's and he wins in the end. He he finalizes his plan, and then we understand. Oh fuck! It was a plan all from the beginning that actually he would be killed himself in the end. That's part of his art
yeah, yeah.
manifestation, and then it worked. So if David is a character like that, or David, sorry, William, then yeah, or something with religion, or I don't know what, you can, but then it becomes a cat and mouse game, like in Seven, and then the end, only in the end you reveal it. But because your concept is like, okay, no, I want to know who it is in the middle, then you cannot really go into the whole investigation mode. You just don't have the time. So I think this is a much simpler and a very emotional way because he recognizes him and we recognize him as an audience. So we know he's right, but nobody else believes him.
Of course, of course, because on when something like that happens, like a traumatic experience, like an accident, whatever, a normal person will go home and rethink about everything that go to that day, and every who did they spoke with, it keeps flashing on their mind over and over again. So he will have the Williams image
Yeah.
recorded in his brain. He will not forget it. It's something like he
No.
bump into it. Any other day he would, but on a day like that, he will have
And I
that.
think to enhance that, the exact thing that you're saying right now is that maybe he could have a dream in which he
Yeah,
relives part of it and he wakes up in shock and he cannot get this thing out of his mind that whole day. He's
you
just
have flashbacks
yeah,
of the funny moments. The guy that I asked for, do you see my kid? That cop and
yeah,
the guy with the balloon. And yeah, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And then the good thing is William can recognize him too. So let's say he
oh,
knows
of
now,
course.
and
When he sees
he's
like,
gonna go
oh
to the
shit,
bar. He's gonna go to the bar, and William just steps out of the bar. He sees David, and he just runs and he steps in his car because David just follows him. And then the accident happens. You know what I mean? So um, and that's a confirmation for us. But again, nobody sees this. But for us, it's super clear that he is the killer because that was one of the main things in your concept that it will only work if we 100% know he's the killer. Otherwise, if he's just, you know, uh, and now he has to prove that he's right while being, I don't know, in jail. And maybe now, uh, what's her name? Sarah comes in and bails him out. I don't know, and he tries to convince Sheriff Cole, like, listen, this guy is it. We have to investigate. And then they go together or whatever, now the stakes have gone up, the clarity has gone up.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
I'm sure you can find a much better version of this, but I'm just trying to make it simple and clear, and
Hmm.
emotional, especially for David. You feel even more for him. you know that's what you want. And again,
Yeah.
everybody says you're crazy. How many people were there at this place? Hundreds of people at this Luna Park, whatever you were. And you're telling me you recognize this one guy who was so no, it was like dressed as a cop? Come on, be real. You're going crazy. It's all the time this point.
Yeah, yeah.
It works. I can tell you this is gonna work, and it's gonna be fun because we in the, as the audience we are in with him. We know he's right. It's so frustrating, you know, and that's great. That's where you want them to be. You want them, us, the audience, to root for him, that he will come out as a victor. That's what you want.
Yeah.
And obviously with his child, because that child is all the time, you know, there's still a ticking clock. And now the guy's in a coma. So now there's no way they can find the children, you know? So it's like, it just complicates everything in a very, very good way, I would say.
Yeah. 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 This is, yeah, it's gonna be better like that. Absolutely.
So next time, till the end of the builder,
Mm-hmm.
so try to bring Sarah back in, I would say, and try to think about what you want to do with their relationship. If there's anything there that you feel, you know, because if you can get that in, you know, there's a development in that they actually come together in the end somehow, or you know, there's something released there. It would be good for the commercial appeal of your film, which we also have to think about, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you're on the right track, my friend. I think you're a very interesting character, story, setting. You know, yeah, it's up to the middle. I think it's really cool. I want to see what's happening. I really want to know what's gonna happen now. I have no clue, and that's where you want the audience to be. It's like, what the fuck now? Because if he goes into a village to find the murderer, which nobody can find, and he just finds him like that, but then he's in a coma. If that's the style of storytelling here, then anything can happen from now on. So as an audience, you don't have anything to hold on to. You don't have, let's say, the conventions of a standard kind of genre film that you already know. Yeah, it's going to be okay. Oh, he's going to fight it off. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You put them all. You put them all on. You know, I don't know. They have nothing to hold
Removing
on to. That's
removing all the cliches. Yeah.
yeah. And the audience is so smart nowadays. They know that. They're bored by that. So at this point, I really want to know what's going to happen.
Me
So
too.
surprise me. Well, actually, that's a great point as a writer to be.
Yeah.
That you think like, fuck, I don't know. Well, great, because that means that your audience also doesn't know. But now you have to come up with something, and you have the ideas, you have the you know the elements in place to play with. I think that, and now it's up to you to yeah to move on. Are you gonna what is going to happen after the crashing in the car? Is David going to be arrested?
Yeah. He's gonna be arrested, and he's gonna say Williams the guy, and you he did it to your kid too. But I know. How do you know? Bullshit. And then after that, I gotta have to come up with something
Yeah, Sarah
to
could bail
resolve
him
that.
out,
Yeah.
but I think it's great. It's great that he gets it. He's arrested, and
Yeah.
that's just fantastic. You should do some research if Sarah could bail him out in a situation like that, if that would legally be possible, and what would be the amount of money. And she says, you know, you're coming home with me. You know, you're coming because you're just making one big mess. And of course, he will not do that. You know, it's
Yeah. And then she'll have to stay in the story and help with extract information from him in coma. Yeah, she's gonna have to be more, gonna be more active now.
Yeah. Maybe she's a, I don't know, like a hypnotic therapist or so, or something like that. That now she can actually use her kind of yeah, skills. Skills she was using against David all the time, and it would be funny if she's a psychiatrist or a yeah, so, and that she calls him stuff all the time, like this terminology, like you're like I don't know this terminology, but you're a typical case of this and this. And he says, look, where do you get that? And which books of you do you read that? She's
Mm,
just trying to put people in boxes. And now all of a sudden he's like, okay, well, I need you, why don't you do that on him? Maybe they have to get the body out of the hospital or whatever he is, and to do this. I don't know. There's
yeah.
a lot of options you can think of. But I think in terms of setup and until the middle, I think you have a really strong, solid um, story here.
Yes.
So anything else I can help you with at this point?
No, so for the next one, I have to finish up the build and start the payoff. What do you think?
Um, well, I work, let's say, with the tornado, hurricane, and the blizzard, technique, in that you have three escalations, like three big escalations, which are absolutely one of the worst days of that person's life. And the first one you open with in the catalyst scene, his son has been kidnapped on his guard. That's absolutely, probably the worst day in his life. So that's great. And then the second is that he finds the guy, but then actually almost kills him, and he's arrested. So I would say that, and he's considered completely crazy. So that is an escalation in finding his child. So I would look, if I were you, for the third escalation, the third amplification at the end of the build. And we talked about it before, which is a very dark one, is that he actually finds his child dead. Um, but I'm not sure if that will, I mean, that will basically, it will it will also stop the film, because what's there then, what is there more than at that point to gain? His goal is to find his child, and if he finds the child and the child is dead, then basically story's over. you know 'Cause what do you want to do after that? Then it's going to be, okay, I would now going to kill William or not. It becomes a different story. So a shift of goal is always dangerous. So from that perspective, I would not recommend going there. If you say, yeah, but I do want to go there, then we're going to try to make that work. But from a story's perspective, if you have a clear goal like he has, and halfway the film, the goal changes, it becomes a different film. So you have to always be very, very careful for that. So try to find an escalation that, in his journey to finding his child, um, yeah, makes it even harder than it is at this point. You always want to go up. And
Yeah.
there's two ways of doing that to escalate. One is by making the opposition bigger. So now we talked about that. Now the father of William is gonna he's now gonna come on the stage, and he's a very powerful man. And now we also start to understand why the FBI didn't want to burn their fingers on this whole thing. So that's one, and or the stakes go up. But the stakes are his child. You could say, like, yeah, something could happen to Sarah. That would make the stakes go up. It's you have to explore these kind of things. Yeah, where you want to go with this. But you need the end of the build, let's say, another big moment, and then from there we go into the payoff. So I would focus on that now. Because if you can get the setup and the build really good, it works, then the payoff will work as well.
You think that finding his kid alive will be better at this point?
Will be better
Yeah.
from a commercial point of view, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
we can change it because if now his wife is gonna be more involved,
I
so
mean,
we could.
if you really wanna make a meaningful film with a beautiful message, then you start with this broken family that nobody respects each other, nobody listens to each other. The boy is just being a toy, being played around. There's no time, and you move to a family that actually appreciate, came back together, healed.
Yeah.
So that, and then the message of your film will be that through this hardship, through these obstacles, through this pain, through this fights, through this, they really discovered what really mattered, and not all the other shit, not his books, not her work, not whatever. And that actually, what matters is them three together. And I think if you have that kind of payoff, the audience is gonna, yeah, I mean, they're gonna feel lifted up by the film. And commercially, that is absolutely the right choice to make, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was just trying to come up with something different, but also could be a shot on your own foot, you know?
Well, you,
And
you did come up with something different. Not everything has to be different, you know?
yeah,
But in the end, you want to say something about humans. You want to say something about life. If you can do that, then you're getting into the category of scripts that known actors will want to play, because that's, you know,
yeah.
and give me one dark film that was, successful that people wanted. No, it's not. But it's not impossible. I mean, you have to make the film that you want to make. That's also something. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
very important. So think about it. But this would be my advice.
No, we're gonna go this route then. Yeah.
Okay,
They're gonna find their kid and
as a team, and
as a
that
team.
and that's
Yeah.
great. See this film, A Mountain Between Us. You will see some,
Mountain
some
between us.
parallels with your story, with especially in that dynamic. It's very
Mm-hmm.
different, but it reminded me actually when I was reading what you sent me today, it immediately reminded me of this film. Like there is something similar. They're different, but in their differences, and they have to work together, they actually lift each other up in a way that they could never imagine, And if you can do something like that in your film, it will blow people away, really.
Yeah. And also I think this the way this story is going, I don't think it looks cliche like, oh yeah, they're gonna find the kid alive. Already know. No, the way it is going, I think people will think like, shit, is that kid still alive or not? Because the odds says the opposite, you know?
Yeah. You have to
Yeah.
keep pushing that point. People have to say this and remind us, remind him and us all the time. Listen, the kid is dead. Don't even think about, just, but he keeps fighting.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, the character of Joyce.
Yeah.
She's relentlessly fighting for her child. And she says, yes, I can hear him. I can see him. And then they say, like, what? In the lights? In the walls?
Mhm.
Seriously? And she says, you're alive. No, he says, and then they found some kind of body. This and they said, it's him. No, it's not him. I know it's not him. And everybody said, you're crazy. You're just crazy. But she's
Yeah.
right. And we know she's right. I don't know if when we find out that we know she's right, but in your story, we know that David is right. And there's nothing more, let's say, connecting with your character than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Absolutely.
If you can do that, you strike gold. That's the most difficult thing. The most difficult thing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the second part of the build. Um, if you want, we can meet on Saturday. If you say, hey, Adrian, I need more time, then we do a week later. It's up to you.
Yeah. See how the week goes.
Yeah, take your time because I see now, you've taken your time and you've done really good work. So it's better than to rush it. So really
Mm.
do whatever, works for you best.
All right.
Okay. And this recording, you can look back. So if there's anything you want to check out, check, or, we can always revisit it.
All right.
All righty. So have a nice day. Talk to you soon then.
Thanks, Adrian. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.